can oil.
Okay. Hello. My name is Abdul, and I'm an oilaholic. I'm here to tell my story and to talk about my problem. I was born to a dysfunctional family in the East Sahara Desert. We were a two-camel family with a modest harem set up in a couple of tents down by the oases. Windy side of the desert. But I had a normal childhood. Played around the oasis, chasing camels, climbing the pine trees, and splashing about in the polluted water. I developed a healthy appreciation for nature, the sand and stuff. I hadn't seen an automobile till I was an adolescent, 12 or 13 years old. One came roaring up through the desert there, up a big sand hill, and I was fascinated by this creature that traveled on four wheels and made a lot of noise, blew out a lot of black smoke, you know. Never seen it. As a teenager, I moved to Istanbul to learn the ways of the world and make my mark in society. I got my first job at a gas station, pumping gas and washing windshields, filling oil. I couldn't believe all the money changing hands. The rich people pulling up in their gas-guzzling Cadillacs and just putting all this money in the tank. You know, it was amazing. I'd never seen the barter system in quite such a bizarre situation. I knew this was where I could make my buck. See, I knew there was money to be made in oil and gasoline. So I worked at this gas station for several years and saving my pennies in a little camel bank, you see. Here you have piggy banks, over there we have camel banks. It's about this high, a ceramic camel with a slot in the back. But anyway, I had the average Arabian dream. I just wanted a modest plot of sand in the desert, settle down with a few dancing girls, tent roof over my head or some palm leaves, eat a lot of dates and grapes and just a modest life. I had no high expectations. So I bought this little plot of sand. Yeah, it was real sandy out there in the desert. And I started to drill for water. You know, I hired the local well drillers there. Most of them were hand dug, but there was one rig there that could drill pretty deep. And of course, we drilled for weeks and did, you know, through the sand, and the sand poured in. But anyway, we struck oil on the property, and this was my first experience with oil, you know. And I remember it gushing out of the ground, goosh, 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 you know, pumping up in the air, and it was all over me, and there I was, drenched in the oil, and I got a rush, you know. I thought, wow, you know, this is neat, you know. And it was like the black gold thing, you know. It just really got to me, and something happened at that point in my life. I became obsessed with this oil and this feeling of it dripping all over my body. Little did I know, even at that point, that later I was to become an oil tycoon and a greedy miser, and well, such as my story goes. I bought more land, I bought more drilling rigs, and I became obsessed with the drilling for oil. And every time I hit a gusher, I got a sensation. It's hard to describe. I was thrilled. I became more and more obsessed with the oil. Do we have anything to drink here? I'm getting terribly thirsty.
All right,
Thank you. I was foolish enough to get involved with some American firms that were even more obsessed with it than I was. They would stop at nothing. Raping, destroying land, everything in their paths. They had no respect. They would destroy forest land and beautiful coastline. They had no regard for God's most fabulous creations. I mean, these guys were hardcore with their lust for money and power. There was nothing they would stop at. Not thinking of the end result of their insane reactions. Oh, thank you. Excuse me a minute here. Ah, good stuff. Great stuff. At any rate, I really, at this point, had a very serious problem with oil. I checked out Oil Barons Anonymous and began trudging the long road to recovery. It wasn't easy giving up all that power that came with hoarding as much oil as I could possibly find. In order to kick the habit, I had to do something that was extremely hard. I had to give up my reserves, and of course there was more oil than I needed. I had 5 Cadillacs, and I gave up riding the camels. You know, they just don't ride quite the same. I like the shock absorbers, and you know, once in a while you hit a rock in the desert, you know, and it really gets to you back here. So at any rate, I donated my oil reserves to the more underprivileged countries of the world. If you can imagine a place more underprivileged than the Sahara Desert, there are a few. I went along pretty good for a while, working the program, but occasionally I would fall off the wagon and start drilling again. Drilling with obsession for the black oil in the desert. I justified my actions by saying that I would only drill in sections that were already ruined land, you know, like the desert. There's, you know, no trees around or nothing like that. I thought it was okay, and the next thing I knew, I was involved with those god-awful Americans again, destroying the coastline and forest lands, and fish rebellion up out there, and it was horrible. And I knew at that point that something had to be done, that I was totally out of control, and my only salvation was to get back to the Oil Barons Anonymous. I finally kicked the oil habit. It's been a few years now. I'm in recovery. I've got the chips in my pocket, and of course, once in a while, I still need to wet the old whistle. But I drink it. I don't burn it in my car, and I don't start fires with it, and I don't destroy coastland by pulling it out of the water, you know, with fish bellying up. It was a terrible sight. Something you just don't want to see. Yes, you too. Anyone can kick the oil habit. They band together and fight against the companies, you know, with no regard for life or God's creation, and just no regard whatsoever for the good things in life. And I want you to know that I think there's things we all can do as individuals to show that we oppose the drilling of oil and the overusing of our natural resources by conserving ourselves and making a statement that we're not into like destroying this wonderful planet that we live on. And so let's do that. Let's band together, ladies and gentlemen, and make a statement to the world about our convictions. Write your congressman. Let's show the rest of the world that we care. Thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah. I think I'm about ready for a 3-year chip here, aren't I? Is this a birthday meeting?
Yeah.
Do we have some cake?
We got a 4-layer cake for you.
A 4-layer cake.
We got another case of oil for you too.
Do you have any Ray lube? Pour a round of Ray lube for everybody, would you please? That's enough. My towel's about to fall off anyway. I didn't light a stogie in this one. I didn't want all the you know, the higher consciousness people out there to know that I smoke cigarettes and really destroying my lungs as well as the world around me. It's getting better though. I've been working the program.
You want to stop? No. You want to do the intro for him?
The intro for him. We are opposed to offshore oil drilling. The following editorial or preceding, however this gets edited, comment is an opinion expressed only by the writers of this silly little monologue. This program contains humorous material that we hope you don't find offensive, and we certainly don't wish to demean any of the anonymous 12-step programs. Thank you very much.
On the next Laff City.